Everything that happens in your life really does happen for a reason. If you don't think the low points that you are experiencing in your life aren't going to lead you to a life of success, abundance, I'm going to tell you a story in my personal life that proves this concept in the title of this video. And I hope you can take some value out of it and hopefully apply this to your life. So I'm 21 currently, but 7 years ago, back in 8th grade, I was super obsessed with basketball. My entire identity revolved around basketball, and all I wanted in my life at that time was to play on the basketball team for my freshman year in high school. And I remember like it's yesterday, I would wake up before school in 8th grade and I would go to the gym that was like 2 minutes from my house at 6 in the morning. I would set my alarm every single morning at 6 a.m. I would put up like 100 shots every single day. I do dribbling drills, anything that can make me better. I was dedicated, I was obsessed, and as a young 8th grader, as a young kid, it was my dream, it was my aspiration to play in the NBA. Now, during this time, I developed an extremely strong work ethic. Like I was working out every single day. I was binging YouTube videos to see how I could get better, and then it came around to freshman year when the tryouts actually came around. And the tryouts were like a week long, and they consisted of a lot of dribbling drills, just running, cardio, shooting drills, a couple scrimmages. And unfortunately, after a week of tryouts, there were two cuts out of around 35 people. There were like three teams, and me and one other kid were the only two kids that got cut. And as a freshman in high school who cared so much what other people thought of me, I was devastated. This was like the worst news that I've ever heard. Going to school the next day, that embarrassment I felt was like no other. And genuinely, I don't wish this sort of pain on anyone, but I'm going to tell you how I learned from this experience and what actually happened to me the following 2 years, which changed the entire course of my life. Now, after a day of weeping and moping after I got cut from the team, I figured I need to get back in the gym. I need to do something productive that's going to push me in the right direction because I was feeling extremely insecure when I went to school. I felt that everyone was judging me. There was only two cuts out of 30 people. And I put in so much work, so much hard work, and I'm just like, God, why would you do this for me? Like, I really had this belief that everything happens for a reason, but at the time, I just didn't see it. So I decided to go back to that same gym that I go to play basketball, and I just started to get really involved in calisthenics. Basically, this is just anything that involves like pull-ups, push-ups, anything with your own body weight. And I tried this because I just want to start seeing improvement again in my life, and going to the gym and being able to work in my body was the best way to see that improvement. See, I also had all this like anger and resentment towards the basketball team and the coach. I felt like extremely victimized. I had this mindset kind of like, why is this happening to me? But I used that to my advantage because when I got into the gym, I took all that anger and I put that in my lifts. I put that in my pull-ups and push-ups, and this helped me progress a lot faster. And I remember one day, this old man actually came out to me during my workout when I was doing pull-ups, and he asked me, hey, have you ever done gymnastics before? And I looked at him and I was like, no, I've had no experience with gymnastics in the past. I'm like, why do you ask? And he's like, you kind of have like that gymnastics bodybuilder physique. Like, I thought you were a gymnast. And in that moment, I literally had an epiphany. Like, I felt this vision and this feeling from God telling me to try out gymnastics. Like, it was the strangest thing ever. I've never felt anything like this. And I kind of thought to myself, if this old man could see in me that I was like a gymnast, like, why not just give this a shot and see what happens? So I took a huge risk my freshman year, and I decided to try out for gymnastics. And luckily, there were no cuts, and you could just join the team, and you're on the team to go. Now, the first few weeks of trying all the events, I was terrible. Like, I was getting rips on my hands from swinging on the bars. I couldn't do any flips. I couldn't do any handstands. And I thought, maybe this isn't for me. But at this point, I decided to burn my boats. Basketball didn't work out for me, and I figured, what if I actually just dedicate all my time to gymnastics? Like, I can make this work. So I started training every single day for 2.5 hours with the team, and I also would go to a gym on the weekends. It was an extra club team to learn how to do flips, handstands, all of that. Like, I put in all the effort I could to learn the basics of the sport. Now, it was around the 4 week point I started to progress like extremely fast. Like, it was not normal how fast I was progressing. in that month period, I learned how to do a backflip. I learned how to do a handstand. I learned how to do a flip off the high bar. I was able just to learn these skills extremely fast. And why? It's because I was not afraid to just send it. So I can go more in detail about this, but the point being, after the first year of being on the team, of the gymnastics team, my freshman year, there was a team state event because the varsity kids that were older were extremely good and they've gone to state for the past 3 years. See, I happen to learn how to do flips on the floor. I happen to learn how to hold handstands for a really long time. And I was actually able to compete in the team state event my first year on the team. Now, we placed in sixth for the whole event, but being able to go from getting cut from the basketball team to competing at team state on gymnastics my first year joining the sport is like unheard of. Now, if you would have said to myself like 6 months before I joined the team that I'd be competing in team state, I would have thought you were crazy. Now, fast forward 2 years after my freshman year, I was starting to get really good. I started to learn different types of flips. I started to do flips off the parallel bars. I was able to do pommel horse, and like I was putting in hours and hours of work a day. I was all in. I burned my boats. And then I went to state again. This time it was individual state for parallel bars, and I was able to do a press handstand, go up, and then I could flip off the bar into a backflip. And it was scary, but I learned how to just send things and take away all the fear in my mind. Now, the lesson I want to tell you guys here is that I didn't think everything happened for a reason when I got cut from the basketball team. I was devastated and I didn't see my path. But just in life, you need to keep going. You need to keep pushing forward because there is something so much bigger for you on the other side that you can't even see in your mind because it's not your plan, it's God's plan. So when something terrible or something awful happens in your life and you're at an extreme low point, just remember God has something incredibly well stored for you on the other side. And the only way you can't experience this abundance and joy in your life is if you give up. So going from getting cut from the basketball team my freshman year to competing in team state at one of the highest levels in gymnastics just 2 years later is honestly a dream come true and is a blessing in my life. And I wish all of you that are pursuing your dreams to keep going.